Some great moments there looking back at WrestleMania 31, which took place Levi's Stadium, Santa Clara, California, March 29, 2015. A great spectacle was WrestleMania 31. Rick here at Stinger Wild, coming at you today with a review of WrestleMania 31. A big show, a big pay-per-view, a cool, awesome open arena, big ass stadium. I love the set design, the whole setup they have there. I thought that was pretty damn cool. The whole thing looked great. The crowd was really into it. 76,000 plus strong. We had 4 titles on the line with a kickoff show and everything included. 4 titles and some great matches. Alrighty guys, let's get to all the action. Alrighty, so the first match on the kickoff show was a fatal 4-way tag team match for the WWE Tag Team Championships, held by Antonio Cesaro and Tyson Kidd going into the match. Competitors in this match were the Usos, the Los Matadors with El Torito, the New Day represented by Big E and Kofi Kingston, and of course the Tag Team Champions Antonio Cesaro and Tyson Kidd, and they came out with Natalya. So some great fast action in this first up match. A great way to kick the whole thing off. We had Jey Uso exiting the match early due to an injury he sustained in the match. He went backstage, but Jimmy fought on by himself anyway, continued in the fatal 4-way match. Pretty cool moment in the match here. We had Natalya putting little wee El Torito in a sharpshooter. Pretty cool moment there. Now, as I say, this action was pretty fast, pretty furious, pretty damn good matchup. And in the end, it was Cesaro who pinned Big E, and Cesaro and Tyson Kidd retained their titles. Alrighty, next up on the kickoff show, we had the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Another pretty good matchup here. Now, right at the start of the matchup, Curtis Axel was going on about Axelmania, ripped his Hogan-like t-shirt off, as he always does, and it was pretty damn funny. Pretty much everybody else in that Battle Royal picked him up and biffed him over the top rope. That was the very first action of the match. So, great way to start it off there. Basically, as the match progressed, we had Ryback playing a big part. He went absolutely nuts at one part of the match, eliminating a whole ton of people. Good showing from Ryback there. We had Big Show. He eliminated the New Day all by himself there at one stage. And then nearing the end of the match, we had Big Show getting one back on Antonio Cesaro by eliminating him in this year's WrestleMania. When Cesaro picked up the Big Show, walked with him for a few meters. Great strength shown there, but couldn't hold him for too long. When they got near the ropes, Big Show just tossed Cesaro over. So getting him back from the WrestleMania 30 when Cesaro eliminated the show. So pretty good action-packed moment there. And anyway, for the final 3 men in the matchup, we had Mizdow and the Big Show. And Miz got shown up here when he was asking Mizdow to help him to eliminate the big man, the Big Show. Mizdow wouldn't have none of it, shook his head, and Mizdow finally stood up for himself, and he actually eliminated the Miz after some verbals back and forth between the two. And that left the Mizdow and the Big Show as the final 2. You may think Big Show would have this one done and dusted, but no, Mizdow tried a hell of a hard, and he almost won this thing, almost eliminating Big Show several times. But in the end, it was the Big Show that got the win. Deservedly, I felt. The big man, he looked proud to win it. He stood up by that statue at the end, crossing his arms, imitating Andre in the statue. He deserved it. It was nice to see the big man win it, in my opinion. A giant himself, a man who has looked up to Andre a lot of his career. No doubt about that, a hero of the big shows. So it was great to see a deserved and a fitting winner there for the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Alrighty, now we head into the main show. The official WrestleMania 31 underway. It was a 7-man ladder match for the Intercontinental title held by Wade Barrett going into it. The competitors were Daniel Bryan, Luke Harper, Wade Barrett, Dolph Ziggler, Stardust, R-Truth, and Dean Ambrose. So another pretty good match here in my opinion. Some great action in it. At one stage we had Stardust. He pulled his own ladder from out underneath the ring. Wade Barrett had none of that. He kicked it to bits, kicked the bottom rung right off, and used that to pound on everyone. So a pretty funny moment there. Had an awesome moment in this match too, where Wade Barrett superplexed Stardust off top of that, that massive 20-foot plus ladder, whatever it is. They were way up high in the sky on that one. And that really got the crowd going, and they were starting to chant, "Holy shit, holy shit." That was a massive moment. Big time suplex off the top of that 20-foot ladder. We also had a pretty awesome spot here in this match with Luke Harper powerbombing Dean Ambrose from inside the ring through the ladder on the outside of the ring, which was set up on between the ring apron and the barricade. Broke the ladder in half, broke Dean Ambrose in half, and that was all we saw from him for the rest of the match. Now, as we fast forward to the end of the match, we had Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler exchanging about 30 headbutts to one another, going hard out, both on top of the ladder, going for the belt. It was headbutt for headbutt. They must have exchanged about 20, 30 headbutts between them, it seemed. Going hard out there on top of the ladder. In the end, it was Dolph Ziggler who went flying, and Daniel Bryan grabbing that Intercontinental title, becoming the new Intercontinental champion. Hopefully he can now hold that son of a gun for quite a while. I'd like to see him hold it at least till SummerSlam, I think, for however long time, put some more pride and prestige back in that belt. So hopefully he can do that. Alrighty, next up, as I say, a great start to WrestleMania 31. It was just an awesome start to an awesome pay-per-view, really. So next up, straight out of the blocks, we had Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton. Bit of a grudge match here between these two. We had Seth Rollins coming out with J&J security. A pretty awesome moment near the start of this match. We had Orton double DDTing J&J from the apron onto the floor. So that was pretty cool. Another awesome moment was a second rope moonsault performed by Rollins to Orton on the outside. Great moment there as well. As we roll on with the match here, we had Orton with the RKO on Seth Rollins, but Rollins kicked out. Okay, and going along with the match, we had Orton with an RKO on Seth Rollins, but Rollins kicks out. Then we had Orton, he decided to go for a punt kick on Rollins, but who would come out but J&J security. Orton had RKOs for the both of them. One off the top rope. And then it was Rollins who came back with a curb stomp on Orton, but Orton kicked out. Then we had Rollins going for that Phoenix Splash, the one he successfully put on awesomely in the Royal Rumble. He went for that, but he missed. And then Rollins ended up going for the curb stomp, but ended up standing on Randy's shoulder. Randy stood up, raising Rollins high into the air, and this was an awesome moment with Rollins flying in midair, being elevated up into the air by Orton. One of the best RKOs you're going to see, guys, and it was an awesome WrestleMania RKO. And midair, Randy hit Seth Rollins and put him out for the 1, 2, 3 and won the match. Great ending to a pretty damn good match. a really good match here with some great action. Alrighty, so next up we had Sting versus Triple H. Pretty surprised to see these guys come out so early in the night. Only the third match in on the card. But that's how they did it. It was a no DQ match. And guys, this match was over the top. It was awesome. It was everything it was built to be and more. I wasn't personally too happy with the ending. I know a lot of people weren't. I know the crowd wasn't. I mean, who didn't want to see Sting win this match, right? But it didn't go that way. But aside from that, we had two pretty cool entrances. With Sting, he had all the drummers there going for him, and the gongs beating. He had a pretty good he had a pretty good entrance there. And Triple H, of course, promoting the new Terminator Genesis movie upcoming with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He had a pretty cool entrance too. A Terminator-like entrance. Now the crowd was really behind Sting in this one and really wanted to see him win. Now basically after early on in the match dominated by Sting, we had the "You Still Got a Chance" by the crowd after a flurry by Sting. So that was pretty awesome to see. So as I say, Sting seemed to dominate early on, the early part of the match. But as the match progressed, Sting put on the Scorpion Deathlock. And then what happened? The unbelievable happened. DX music hit. And out come the New Age Outlaws and X-Pac. Basically, Sting cleared house on those guys. So that was a really awesome moment there. The crowd was absolutely loving it, chanting, "This is awesome, this is awesome." Anyway, that would lead to Hunter. He would end up putting the pedigree onto Sting, but Sting kicked out. So then Hunter grabbed a sledgehammer. But then what happened? The NWO music hit, and out came Hogan, Hall and Nash. The crowd erupted. It was awesome. So with DX still at ringside, the NWO came out and hammered them. So a great moment there. At that point, Sting death dropped Triple H, but Triple H kicked out. And Sting got Hunter in the Scorpion Deathlock. He had it on him for a long time. Well, on the outside, DX and NWO continued brawling. And back in the ring, Triple H in the Scorpion Deathlock made it to the ropes. So Sting went to put on another. And then what happened? Who would come out next? The only man who hadn't come out at this point for DX, it was HBK, Shawn Michaels, HB Shizzle. He came out and he put a super kick on Sting. And Triple H went for the cover at that point, but the Stinger kicked out. We had a big flurry at the end of the match by Sting, hitting Hunter with Stinger splashes. He went for another, but in the end, Sting got hit by Triple H's sledgehammer, and Triple H got the win. And so post-match, we had DX in the ring celebrating with Triple H. The NWO came in and they helped up Sting. Both sides were eyeballing one another on either side of the ring. And then Hunter came out and he extended his hand to Sting. The two men shook hands, exchanged words with one another in a show of respect, and that was that. A great match up there in the end. I know I myself and a lot of people thought going into this match that Sting would go over on this one. I believe he should have personally. I know a lot of others did as well. I know 76,000 people at the Levi Stadium that day thought that the Stinger should have gone over. His first WrestleMania and all. But it wasn't to be. I felt that it did, with Sting losing, it did put a bit of a dampener on the next following few matches. I felt if Sting had won, it really just would have kicked the show into overdrive. Maybe if they had to put the match on later and Sting had a loss then, maybe it wouldn't have been so bad. I thought they should have had the match on later anyway. They could have at least put it on third to last, I thought. But, I mean, it was still pretty awesome having it on early. But especially if you're going to have it on early, to have Sting go down, as I say, I felt like it put a bit of a dampener on the following few matches to come. I really don't know why they can't just put all your big matches in a row at the end. If you got 3, 4, 5 big-ass matches, just put them on all in a row on the end. You don't have to have a big match and then a low-key match and then another big match and another low-key match. You don't have to do that, in my opinion. Just chuck all your big matches on. Nothing wrong with doing that at all. I think that'll be much more successful. But anyway, that's how it went. Very surprising that the Stinger went down in this match. I know Triple H has had a pretty poor WrestleMania record. He has lost several straight WrestleMania matches for the past several years on the trot. And that's the only reasoning I can think behind it. They just couldn't have him lose another one. That's my only reasoning behind it, why Triple H went over here. But anyway, that's the way it went. Still a good match. The DX and the NWO stuff, it's about 15 years plus too late. But hey, we got it in the end, didn't we? So it was awesome. So just a great spectacle. Just awesome to see those two in the ring. The crowd loved it. Chance of "this is awesome, you still got it" to Sting all throughout the match. So a really awesome match there. Alrighty, so next up we had the Bellas versus Paige and AJ. So it's a pretty standard sort of a match. They gave them some good time to wrestle out there, which was good. That was good to see. You had 4 hot women going at it, so you can't complain too much, I suppose. As I say, a fairly standard sort of match, really. We had AJ putting Nikki Bella in the Black Widow. Nikki tapped out, with AJ Lee and Paige getting the win on that one. Okay, next up we had the match for the United States Championship between Rusev, the champion, versus the challenger John Cena. We had Rusev's entrance, which was pretty cool. He came out on a tank. That was pretty awesome. We had Cena coming out to a USA video package, which the crowd really got onto that. And we had Lana with Rusev, the undefeated Rusev, at ringside. Now, during the match, we had some "Let's Go Lana" chants. And I found that was pretty appropriate because the match just fell a wee bit stale there at times. I felt. I mean, it wasn't a bad match. It was a good enough match. I don't know if the crowd was on a bit of a dampener from the Sting Triple H thing, but for me anyway, the match, it just wasn't really that high profile a match. Just fell a wee bit flat in places, I felt. But anyway, we had the "Let's Go Lana" chants during the match, which I thought was pretty funny. And we had Rusev putting the accolade. It was hilarious when Cena called that the accolade the other night on Raw. But we had Cena breaking the accolade from Rusev. He was in it for a while, but Cena broke it. And basically Cena held on there. And Cena came back with an AA. And he ended up winning the match with the attitude adjustment there. Cena wins. And wins the title that he first won at WrestleMania 20 off the Big Show all those years ago. He becomes the new United States champion once again. Yeah, so as I say, this match just fell a little bit flat for me. But it was what it was, and that's how it goes. So next up we had a promo with Stephanie McMahon and Triple H in the ring babbling on about how great they are. But then the great one, The Rock himself, would come out for a surprise appearance. So it ended up with verbals going back and forth between Stephanie McMahon and The Rock. Ended up with Stephanie slapping The Rock in the face, and she told The Rock to leave. But The Rock did not leave. He stayed at ringside, got a friend of his from the front row of the audience, Ronda Rousey, the current women's UFC bantamweight champion, grabbed her out of the crowd, and they entered the ring to confront Triple H and Stephanie. And The Rock and Ronda Rousey proceeded to beat up Triple H and Steph. So, a nice wee promotional moment here. In WrestleMania 31, we had The Rock teasing a match with Triple H, talking about their past rivalry. Rock was saying, Triple H, we could have a WrestleMania moment right here, teasing something to go on between the two, talking about their past rivalry and their history there. But Triple H would have none of it. He didn't want none of The Rock. So it ended up with The Rock and Ronda Rousey coming out on top here in this wee promo. Alrighty, next up, it was the return of the dead man, the return of the Undertaker. No one had seen him since WrestleMania 30, since he had his first loss to Brock Lesnar. He took on Bray Wyatt, the man who was the new face of fear, he calls himself in the WWE. He called out the Undertaker. He wanted to face the Undertaker, and he got it here at WrestleMania 31. So early on in the match, we had the You Still Got It, You Still Got a Chance for the Taker. Pretty awesome there. So as we get into the match here, we had Bray Wyatt going for the Sister Abigail on the Undertaker, but the Taker countered that with a chokeslam, and then he tombstoned Bray Wyatt. But you know what? Bray Wyatt kicked out. And Taker would go for a second tombstone in the match. But Wyatt reversed out of it, and he hit him with a Sister Abigail. But the Undertaker kicked out. And then we had Bray Wyatt going for another Sister Abigail, but the Taker pushed him off, put on the tombstone, and got the win. It was a pretty good match up here. Taker looked in pretty good shape. It was great to see him back. Looked a hell of a lot better than he did last year, that's for sure. He got the win. He goes 22-1. Great to see the dead man back here. And let's hope we can see him back at WrestleMania 32 as well. Alrighty, so now the main event of the night. This one was for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. It's between the champion, Brock Lesnar, versus the challenger and the winner of a 2015 Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns. This matchup was action-packed, guys. What can I say? This thing was hardcore. This was hard out. The fans got into it. They loved it. It was awesome. We had a hell of an action-packed start with both guys just going at it, going into one another, with Lesnar coming out on top most of the time. Within the first minute of the match, Lesnar put on the F5 on Roman Reigns. It was unbelievable. It was awesome. There was no mucking around or messing around in this match. It was just from as soon as that bell rang, they were all out. It was an all-out war. There was a ton of suplexes from Lesnar. He suplexed him over and over and over again. It was hard out. These guys were going at it. Now, basically, Lesnar, hit a second F5 on Reigns, but Reigns kicked out. He hit a third F5 on Reigns, and Reigns kicked out. Lesnar went at Reigns over and over and over again. It didn't matter what he did. Reigns even had a smile on his face of saying, "Come on, give me more, give me more." And he kept pounding him down, but Reigns kept getting up. To his credit, Reigns kept getting up. He would not give up. Then Reigns came back with three Superman punches and 2 big spears to Lesnar, but Lesnar kicked out. And then Reigns went for another Superman punch, and Lesnar F5'd him again right there and then. And at that moment, near the end of the match, Seth Rollins' music hit. And he came out unbelievably, cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase, the first ever cash-in WrestleMania history. It was before the match had even ended. Usually we see the cash-ins coming after the match. The second the victor gets the pinfall, then the guy with the Money in the Bank briefcase will come out, cash in, and beat up the guy who's just won, but he cashed in before the match was even over. So no one really knew what was going to happen. You'd think it would be Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar one-on-one, but no. Apparently, if you cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase before the match ends, it turns into a triple threat match, or you become part of the match. So it was a triple threat match when Rollins came out there. And basically, he ended up curb stomping Roman Reigns, covered Reigns for the win. Brock never actually got pinned in this one, but Seth Rollins is the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. It was pretty awesome. It was pretty great, I thought. The main event itself, the match, was action-packed. Reigns and Lesnar went hard out to one another. Thought Reigns could have got a few more moves in himself. Would have been nice to see him do those big 10-pounding clotheslines in the corner. Can't recall if he did that on Lesnar or not. Don't think he did. It was mainly Lesnar pounding on Reigns, with Reigns coming back over and time again. So Brock certainly looked strong, but it was a good match. It was very action-packed, and with a surprise at the end there, a great matchup and a great way to end up WrestleMania 31. So there we have it. That was WrestleMania 31. Some great action. Great massive outdoor venue there at Levi's Stadium. So I'll just sum up a few things here from what I thought about the show. I think I still would have preferred to have seen the Sting Triple H match go on later, especially with Sting going down in the match. Feel if he had a loss later on in the night, it wouldn't have been so bad. I felt the match should have really been on later on the night anyway. As I say, I don't know why if they've got 3, 4, 5 big matches, I can't see why they can't just put them all on in a row. You know, you don't have to have dampener matches after a big match. Like you got Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker. You don't have to put a dampener match on after that. You can just go big match, big match, big match, big match. Have about 4 or 5 big matches on in a row. It's the way they used to do it. It's the way they should do it. If putting on a dampener match, a more low-key match on after those big matches, just sort of, the whole thing just goes down. You should just keep the momentum building all the way to the end. So that's the only thing I'd say about that. But the only other thing I'll mention really is with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, I thought that they should have had a lot more face-offs before their match. Basically, the only face-off they had was the night after Fastlane, when they were snowed in or whatever, and they just did that studio interview with Heyman and Lesnar and Reigns sitting in that West studio, and that was basically the only face-off they had, and that was awesome. That was totally awesome. That was hard out. Those two should have gone face-to-face a lot more than they did building up to Mania. It would have been awesome if they had of 2 big, huge, giant guys. Would have been awesome. Basically, on the go-home show that they had, it was the only time they faced off in the ring, face-to-face in a showdown, and it was pretty tame. It only went for about a minute at the most, and They basically just stood there doing that tug-of-war thing with the belt. Meaning, even if they had gone hard out there and beat one another up or whatever, that still even wouldn't have been enough. They should have been going face-to-face. There should have been a lot more build-up for those two in the ring, having heaps of face-offs week after week, because it would have made that match so much more awesome. I don't really know why they didn't do that. I know Brock wasn't doing his appearances or whatever, but it was just silly. They really missed out on something there, I believe. But anyway, after everything's said and done, that match itself was damn awesome. But so there we have it. We're going to end it now. Thanks heaps for joining me on my review of WrestleMania 31. And if I'm giving this show a rating, I'm looking around about 8.5. Around about an 8.5 for this show. An action-packed show, some great matches, a great card. And all I can say is we're looking forward to WrestleMania 32. And we're going to end it now looking back at some more pics from the show, from the night. Take it easy, and we'll see you next time.